Hey guys, it's Otti again. I'm sitting here online on an online call with Rodney from the Cassandra Complex. Hi, first of all.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Hi. It was just instant meeting we did because I've seen you have a new or re-recorded album. We'll talk about this, and
Mm-hmm.
your tour kicks off tomorrow. And we said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let's do a little bit talking about what's coming and what has been happening. But maybe first of all, for people who kick in who absolutely don't know who you are, may you
Mm-hmm.
introduce yourself? Who are you and what's your part in your band?
All right. My name is Rodney Orpheus. I'm Irish. Um, I'm in the Cassandra Complex. I'm the singer, songwriter, producer, today video editor, manager, whatever. Um, and I've been the Cassandra Complex been running for 40 years, and which is unbelievable. And we're about to go on tour, our 40th anniversary tour, with the original lineup, which is almost unheard of for most bands. Most bands can't stand each other after 40 years. Most bands can't stand each other for 40 days, never mind 40 years. But yeah, and I write books and do lots of other interesting things as well. I like to be busy.
And I think we have lots of things we can talk about.
Hmm.
But first of all, maybe we can do a little summary of the band's history, not the whole band's history, but
Hmm.
maybe 3 or 4 turning points that have
Sure.
been important.
Yeah. Well, we started in a city called Leeds in England, Northern England, and it was started by myself and a guy called Paul Dillon. When I get Christ's birthday party, and we both ended up dancing to a D Croops record. And afterwards, we were like, "Oh, you like D Croops?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do too." Oh, and then we started talking about music. And next, he said, "I said I was starting a band." He said he wanted to start a band. So the next day, we met up in his house, and that was that. And then a few months after we started, a journalist came to interview us, and his name was Andy Booth, and he really liked our music and really understood what we were doing. And we found out he was a guitar player, so he ended up joining the band, and that's been the lineup. And then we produced our first record independently, and we've been independent pretty much ever since. Um, and we made a bunch of records, which have done kind of okay. I mean, the last album was #1 in the German alternative charts, which is nice.
Mhm.
And uh, and yeah, the new one just came out last week.
Yeah.
So,
And we'll talk about this later on a little bit more. But
hmm.
first of all, you mentioned the groups.
Hmm.
Funny thing, I had, for example, an interview with Jürgen last year, and
Hmm. Great
and
guy.
that shows how small the world and how small the scene still is.
Hmm.
And you produced the groups, for example.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I ended up. Well, it was myself and Andrew Eldritch from the Sisters of Mercy. We remixed the D Crooks Fatherland, which
Mhm.
is a great, great record. Because, and the reason we wanted to do that was because we were both immigrants. We were living in Germany. Andrew and I both lived in Hamburg, and that record's all about anti-immigration, and we felt very strongly about that because we were immigrants to Germany. You know,
Mhm.
maybe we have white skin, but we're still immigrants. And so anyone who was anti-immigration is anti-us. So we want, because Jürgen had written this great song about prejudice against immigrants, and about the whole right-wing mentality, we wanted to be part of that. And that remix was a really great experience. And I think the record that came out of it, the combination of all of that, made a really wonderful, miraculous record. I mean, it's a beautiful record. I still listen to it today and think, wow, I can't believe we actually did that. It's a masterpiece, in my opinion.
Mhm. And maybe you can tell a little bit about how you came to Hamburg. What was the reason back then?
Well, in England at the time, Margaret Thatcher was the prime minister,
Mhm.
and the band UB40, the reggae band.
Yeah,
They
sure.
wrote a song called "If It Happens Again, I'm Leaving," which was about how bad Margaret Thatcher and the Conservatives were, and if they got voted into power a second time, the band would leave the country. And that's what we did. Margaret Thatcher did get voted a second. UB40 stayed in England; they didn't leave, but Andrew and I both left, and um, and we both fell in love with Hamburg. It's a great city. I love it. I still feel very much at home there. We both fell in love at Hamburg and ended up moving there, as did Chris from Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry, also a Leeds band, because it was we loved that liberal, relaxed, große Freiheit, idea of Hamburg. And I love being by the sea and the water, and Hamburg's, and it's just a very relaxing and beautiful town to live in. And I love being in Germany, and so that was a good place to go.
Yeah, I think so. And Hamburg has a cool scene as well, a cool underground dark scene.
Absolutely, yeah.
There are many clubs and stuff, and the Reeperbahn, for example, is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But about this migration stuff, I think you are a guy who have lived in USA and Germany and everywhere. So this is a really important topic to you, I think, being home somewhere and also being migrant somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the whole right wing getting stronger now in Europe and stuff?
I think the only good Nazi is a dead Nazi.
Nothing more to say about this. So you follow or you look what is happening, for example, in Germany with the AfD and stuff?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. It's terrifying.
But there have been lots of demonstrations the last weeks and months. So this is something that makes me, or that gives me hope.
Yeah, I agree.
Are not
Absolutely.
That bad. Cool. And another thing I found out today, finally, about you, is that you have the cyberpunk in your genre as well, or you call it a little bit cyberpunk music.
Sure, we did an album called Cyberpunks. It was the first record about. I mean, I'm a big science fiction fan. I've been reading science fiction since I was about 12 or 13 years old. And when the first cyberpunk books came out, Bruce Sterling, William Gibson, Rudy Rucker, those kind of authors, I was reading them avidly, and it was a really interesting time in science fiction. It was I think in science fiction, there have been 2 or 3 different really important movements. There was the early science fiction, which was all, American rocket ships, Buck Rogers, bullshit. And then I think one of the big revolutions was in the 60s with the New Worlds, where Michael Moorcock, writers like Michael Moorcock and Norman Spinrad, really reinvented science fiction and made it very rebellious and very innovative. And they did a lot of really interesting things. I mean, Michael Moorcock's still my favorite author when it comes to science fiction. And then, the cyberpunk movement that came along after that was a huge jump, because it was like, I think it was the first science fiction movement that really grasped the concept of computers and digital technology and what was going to happen. Which is the ironic thing, of course, is that Neuromancer by William Gibson, when he wrote that, he didn't know anything about computers. He wrote it on a typewriter. So,
and for me, for example, it was we talked about it before we started the interview. I got into the RPG stuff, and for example, Shadowrun, maybe you don't know as well.
I know Shadowrun very well. I mean, the guy who wrote it's a friend of mine. So one of the guys who wrote it. Yeah, I know Shadowrun. Yeah, I mean, I was not a big fan of Shadowrun. I preferred Cyberpunk by Art Talsorian Games. That was a good game.
Yeah, I think. But it's more puristic for you, for example. But I'm a big fantasy fan, for example. So Shadowrun was the perfect match of science fiction and fantasy.
I'm a huge fantasy fan too, but I prefer my fantasy and hard science to be totally different things. I love fantasy as well. I play a lot of RPGs. I've written RPGs.
Which, for example, maybe you can
the first job I ever had writing was writing for Steve Jackson games. I wrote some scenarios for Car Wars, if you know that game.
Yeah, I have a box.
Yeah.
In the other room, yes.
So, I wrote some of Car Wars. And what else have I done? Oh, there's a whole bunch of bits and pieces. But I mean, I've got a whole role-playing game that I've never even published yet. Someday I'm going to finish it and publish it. But I played a lot of role-playing games. And I think the first RPG I ever played was Star Trek, FASA, Star Trek. It's a great RPG to start with. And Star Trek is great as an RPG because you don't have to explain to anybody, the players, how the world works. Everyone knows what a Klingon looks like, and everyone knows that phasers can have a stun setting, and how the transporter beam works. And it's just so it was a great world to start with. And I played a lot of Lord of the Rings, MERP. What else have I played a lot of? These days I mainly play Savage Worlds, which is a really nice system. I ran a huge Game of Thrones campaign that lasted for like 2-3 years every week. That was really cool. Cyberpunk. My favorite Cyberpunk game now is Interface Zero, which is a really good Cyberpunk RPG. So yeah, a big RPG guy. My favorite RPG at the moment is probably Symbaroum, which is a wonderful dark fantasy game from Sweden.
Yeah, cool.
It's really good. Highly
So
recommended.
you're still totally into the scene.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Once a gamer, always a gamer.
Funny thing for me is I've sold RPG stuff and all this, and for I think about 15, 20 years I didn't find time to play RPG. So I'm still longing to do it, and on my YouTube channel at least I am doing unboxings now and presenting, for example, Dungeons and Dragons board games and stuff, and I want to do more of this. So every input is cool, every game recommendation is cool. And you mentioned, or we talked about it a little bit before we started, and you said you also play Magic the Gathering.
I used to play it a lot. I had to give it. That's like crack cocaine for gamers. I mean, I played a lot of Magic the Gathering, but I never played it seriously because I could just see half my life and my paycheck just vanishing down a big black hole. But it is a wonderful game, and I mean, from a design point of view, I think the design of Magic the Gathering is one of the great pieces of game design ever made. It's a really, really cleverly designed game. It's so simple at its heart, but really keeps you hooked. It's excellent. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't get a lot of time to play RPGs now though, but I play online with Fantasy Grounds, like a virtual tabletop. So I play with a bunch of my old friends. So we're all different places in the world, but we get together and play online, you know, every couple of weeks or whatever. And it's a lot of fun. It's not as good as in person. Is still better. And I really wanted to start in-person gaming again this year, but then I ended up going on tour, so it's not going to happen for quite a while.
There you have to do priority.
When this tour is finally over, I'm going to take a couple of months off and just play RPGs for a while, I think.
I think the tour will really talk about this as well. One thing about the RPG stuff, I think there has been a breakdown when the internet got bigger. It was like RPG got less, was my feeling. And now it's getting more, as you mentioned, for example, as you are connected to people all over the world, people have seen that this is a cool way to play.
Absolutely. And I mean, a lot of younger people these days are coming into RPGs through video games, video RPGs, and which is great. I mean, I play a lot of video games as well, and I played a lot of video RPGs. But one thing, and it's great, but the thing you very rapidly begin to realize is that you're too constrained. You're constrained. Your only choices are choice 1, choice 2, or choice 3. You know, you're constrained by what the developer gives you the options of. Whereas playing a tabletop role-playing game, you're only constrained by your own imagination. You have not just choice 1, 2, and 3. You've got choices 5,000 if you want to have. You can do the craziest shit, and that's sometimes where the real fun of the game lies. You know,
and the interaction with other people,
absolutely,
who bring in even more options with their ideas and stuff. That's a cool thing. But there are those solo adventures where you have choices and you play on your own.
Right. I wrote one of those. I wrote one of those for Steve Jackson Car Wars. Yeah, I really went through a period of, like, Steve Jackson did a Convoy for Car Wars, which is a solo adventure for Car Wars. That was a really good game. It was really fun. So,
and to me personally, I could talk with you hours about this topic, because I think this is what we gamer nerds do. We love the games. We want to talk about it. We want to talk about the stories and stuff. But maybe we should now come to your music, and we can kick off with, you mentioned the album Cyberpunks, but also where's the connection on other points where you connect your music and all those fantasy science fiction stories. Is there a connection?
Well, there's always a connection. I mean, when I'm writing songs, I write about all sorts of things. You know, like I think some artists will just, you know, they'll just write love songs, or they'll just write heavy metal songs about fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons style things. And but I've fallen in love and I play Dungeons and Dragons, so I don't see any reason why I shouldn't be writing about both of them. And I write political songs because I'm very political and politics is important. You know, if you don't do politics, somebody will do it to you. And you know, and space travel. You know, I'm literally just working on a song about space travel right now. So all these themes happen all the time. They're always in there, and they should be. The world's a big and interesting place full of lots of things to talk about. So,
and there we can kick into your current album. It's
Death and Sex
Death and Sex. Yes, I had to see Sex and Death was the original one,
was the
and now
original,
you have
right? Yeah.
not
So
a
yeah,
re-release, it's
so 30
re-recording.
yeah, so 30 years ago we did an album called Sex and Death.
Yeah.
That was released on Play It Again Some Records in Europe, but it was never released outside of Europe.
Yeah.
And so recently, a few months ago, we signed with a new label. We signed with a label in America, Cop International Records. Really, really nice, small independent label. But some great bands and great acts. So it's a good label. And I was talking to the label owner, Christian Petka, who's a German guy living in America.
I know him, yes.
And I was saying, look, you know, what's really interesting is Sex and Death. We have the rights to Sex and Death outside Europe. We can release it in America. And he was like, yeah, that sounds great. So I said, okay, I'll remaster it. So I started listening through it to try and remaster it. And I listened to it and I thought, yeah, this record is, I mean, a lot of people love that record, and it is a really good record, but it's very different. I mean, when I was making it, I was going through a very bad time in my life. And when I listen to it now, I just think, oh, I wish I could do that again. It'd be so much better. And then I thought, screw it, I'll do it again. Because we've played the songs for years and years and years. And every time we play live, we change things around. I mean, if anyone's seen us live, it's never the same thing twice. It's always really new and different, and with different musicians and different inputs and so on. So I just thought, screw it, I'll just do the record again. So we took some of the songs. We didn't do all of the songs again, but we took the songs that really fitted well together cohesively, and we re-recorded everything from the beginning. And we called it Death and Sex because it's, you know, it's like Sex and Death, but it's a new album. So yes, it's the same songs, but there's literally nothing the same on the record apart from the songs. Everything's re-recorded, new drums, new guitars, new bass, new vocals, everything. So, and we wanted to make a record that reflected where we are now rather than where we were 30 years ago. Because, I mean, one of the things that I've always said I never wanted to do is become like those bands, and you know what bands I'm talking about, the bands that are on tour every year, and they're a cabaret version of themselves. You know, it's just the same records over and over again because the fans want to hear it. And it's like, oh, shoot me now. You know, I would, that's not what I'm about. I mean, I understand that people want to see the thing that they remember from their childhood, and that's fine. But it's not exciting for me to just play the same, go through the same old routine over and over again. And I know a lot of bands who do that, and they hate it. They hate themselves and they hate what they're doing. And I don't want to be that person. I think it's disrespectful to my audience in a way. I think I should be trying to make things better all the time for the audience, trying to give them something new and something exciting instead of just the same comfort food, you know? So that was a lot of the thoughts behind making Death and Sex. Was to make someone, because the songs are really good, and I really wanted to give them a whole new life and make them much more exciting and interesting, and much more new and current, much more 2024, not 1994.
So we have better technique, for example.
We have a lot better yeah. I mean, I've been involved in music technology most of my life. That's my other job, if you like. I mean, a lot of the software and hardware that musicians watching this use is probably I've helped design it or market it or whatever. And so now we have all the technology. But the funny thing was, like, and we've got everything on software as well as hardware now, and it's so much cheaper. I mean, when we first started, Paul and I had a part-time job in a store, and we saved up all our money and would go down to the second-hand market here, and we would buy cheap synthesizers that were second-hand because nobody wanted them, you know, cheap analog synthesizers. And we'd buy like something for 25 quid. I mean, I bought a synthesizer for 55 pounds in a Leeds market, and I sold it recently for 4,000. Um, so, you know, go figure. We bought all this junk that nobody wanted, and we had it in our studio. And that's how we made the original records, with these great old analog synthesizers. But then we got robbed, and everything got stolen. We never got them back.
Oh.
But we were redoing March, the very first single we ever did. We've just been redoing the backing track for the new tour. Doing it last night, and I was able to recreate the exact sound that we had back then 40 years ago in the plugins we have now. I was able to get my old MS-20 and my old Roland MC202 and my old Korg MS-20 and just have them up there in plugins, and I was able to make the same sounds and recreate exactly the way we wanted it at the beginning. And Paul and I were sitting here going, "This is so funny. Like, it feels like we're really kids again on our old, crappy old secondhand synthesizers, but now we've got them in the computer, and it sounds really brilliant." So now we can do all those things we dreamed of and we wanted to, that we couldn't when we were poor, starving kids. So now we're poor, starving adults.
I think this is somehow similar to, for example, the gaming stuff. I know the kids, when they start with gaming and stuff, you are really longing for some cards or for this one rule book or something. And it was great at that time. And later on, when you get old and you have more money, you can buy all the stuff you want. You can have a big collection of trading cards, of role-playing games and stuff. Somehow the same, I think, with synthesizers. And so you can buy those that you ever dreamed of.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you compare the old version of the record and the new one, what have been the things on the old version that you really wanted to keep?
I mean, there's pretty much no sounds from the original record on the new one at all. I mean, the song structures, we kept the melodies, we kept and you know, we kept the actual song, same lyrics, same tunes, but everything was played completely differently. There's different synthesizers, different guitars. All the guitar lines are totally changed, or most of them anyway. And so a lot of the guitar solos are all different, and the performances are all very different. And like Andy Booth, our original guitar player, he didn't play with us on Sex and Death. He wasn't available during that time, which he always was unhappy about. But now he finally got to play his way on the record. And we also had a second guitar player who we've known since the very early days in Leeds, a guy called Chris Haskett. He's an American. And when we were growing up in Leeds, he was he came from America to study at Leeds University. And he was our friend back then as a guitar player. And he ended up playing guitar for Henry Rollins' band. And he played with Henry Rollins, and he played with David Bowie. And now we got him back to play with us finally. So we got David Bowie's guitar player, which is quite nice. He's a great guitar. So we had two really great guitar players, and I encouraged them to really put their own musical taste and their own musical style onto the record. Because it's not, I mean, it's a band, it's not just about me, you know. I may be the band leader or whatever, but I like to have, you know, it needs to be a process of bringing everybody together. And, you know, the guitar parts on the record is just amazing. They're so good. So yeah, nothing's the same. I mean, the program stuff, like the sequencers, the stuff, it's the same sequencer part, but different synthesizers, different samples, different everything, you know. So.
And when you look back to the album, you said it was a rather hard time.
It was I mean, because when we did that album, I'd been basically on tour for 8 years when I made that record. 8 years. I mean, and which was great. Don't get me wrong. Being on tour is wonderful. I mean, it was fabulous. I went around the world several times and played lots of great concerts and met lots of wonderful people, and it was wonderful. It was a really great experience. But the thing about touring is it's not just about, you know, you don't sort of sit in your swimming pool and then the helicopter comes to pick you up. You know, it's really hard work. Being on tour is incredibly hard work. You're working all day, every day. Really, really difficult work, really stressful. you're jet lagged, you don't get decent sleep, sleeping in the back of a car or whatever. It's very, very stressful. So when I made that record, I've been doing that for 8 years on a row without a holiday, without a break, without nothing, just 8 solid years. So when I listen to it, I can tell, my God, I was really burnt out then. I mean, we still made a good record. Don't get me wrong; it was a great record. But I hear it and I'm thinking, yeah, that was a rough, rough time. And it's also emotionally difficult. A lot of people don't get that as well. It's very hard. It's very hard to have a relationship if you're on tour all the time because you're never home. You can't get married. If you get married, you've got problems. So these are the things that I think a lot of people don't really understand. And most musicians try to look really glamorous. Hey, I'm a rock star, baby. But underneath, a lot of the time, it's an emotionally very difficult situation. I think it's why so many musicians become alcoholics or drug addicts, because it's emotionally really hard, and so they take that to dull the pain, so they can keep on functioning.
I see. But maybe is there a connection about this and the lyrics? Something that got into the lyrics of this emotions that you had back then?
Well, I mean, the album we did before that was The War Against Sleep, which has a really great record. I mean, that was a very romantic record, which was all about. That record was all about breaking up with my girlfriend at the time. It was very romantic and very, very emotionally difficult. And so with Sex and Death, I was just feeling really numb, and so I think a lot of the songs are very. That's why it's called Sex and Death. It's just about the most basic human emotions. Nothing complicated. It's about the most basic motivations that people have, the things that keep us alive and the things that make us die, And so that was very much themes that were very prominent in my mind when we were making the record originally. And all the songs are about sex or death or both at the same time.
Okay.
And they're really great songs, but the process of writing them was very traumatic, I think, in some ways. And now when we started working on the songs again, they had that distance from it. So I can see the person who wrote those songs. I can feel the way I felt, but I'm not that as emotionally damaged as I was then, maybe.
So the meaning has changed for you as well during years.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think so. But I think the songs, having that distance from it, made me able to really understand this, actually see the songs better, because sometimes when you're that close to it, you can't really see the overall picture. So I was able to approach those songs in a very different way and see what they really meant, and hopefully, really bring them out the way they should have been all along. And when I hear the record, every time I hear the songs in Sex and Death, I always think, or in Death and Sex, I think, wow, this is the way I saw it. It was in my head, at the time, that never really made it onto the record. So I think it's much more, in a lot of ways, it's more true to the vision.
And probably most of the songs will be played on the tour that kicks off tomorrow.
I think, out of the 7 songs on that, I think we're playing 6 of them live. So, but we're playing. The problem is we were going through the set list just last night, trying to figure out what songs to play, and we were only playing like really, because we have a lot of songs. We thought we'll just play like some of the really big hits and some of the best songs that we like. And we really cut down, and it still came out to 2 hours long. And it's like, wow, that's a long concert. So we're having to cut again and cut again and cut again. So we're assuming we're going to play about maybe an hour and a half, 90 minutes, hopefully, on most of the shows. I think when we play Witten, we're playing 75 minutes. And that'll be the shortest show we do, I think, will be 75 minutes. So anyone, and I think we've got so many songs, we'll probably change some songs during the set. So anyone who comes to see us twice, you'll see a different set every time, probably, because we have so many songs, and we're still leaving out songs that we really want to play. So
that would be something I had asked, because having such a long tour, is for you, for example, it would be boring to play every night the same set.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Well, boring, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. It's not a question. I mean, I never want to be bored of what I do. I always want to be excited and feel happy and feel motivated and inspired on the stage. And I think, again, if you come see us, you can see it in my face. I'm sure that I really love being on that stage. I love playing to an audience. But yes, we like to always change it and move it around and keep it inspiring and keep it bright. And because if we're not inspired, then we can't inspire an audience. And that's the most important thing. I mean, they pay their money. They need to get a great show. They need to get 100% every single concert. So that's really important to us. So
And from your view, what makes a concert night really, really unforgettable for you?
for me, well, I mean, it's not about playing the songs. I can play the songs in this, but I'm actually in the studio right now. If you look around, you'll actually see. Let me see if I can show. Yeah, there's like synthesizers over there, and there's another keyboard over there, and so on. We can. It's not about just playing the songs, because we can play the songs right here anytime. So what, you know? What it's about is hearing and feeling and seeing the audience's reaction. That's what keeps me going. You know, to be able to look in the audience. I mean, I try and look at everybody. I try and make contact with every single person in the audience, even if there's 5,000 people. I am singing to every single person, because you know, when you see someone in the audience looking up at you and their tears are running down their face because they're so emotional and it means so much to them, and you can see them dancing and really having a great time. That's what keeps me going. That's what makes it amazing. You know, because it's so rare that, you know, we're always trying to make emotional connections to other people in our life, you know, and it's so difficult to have other people understand how you really feel. You know, it's really difficult to get that sort of emotional transfer emotion from one person to the other, to have someone really understand you, and to have that moment where you can see that someone really feels what you're feeling, and they really understand who you are and what you're doing. That's a wonderful thing, and that's always, from the first moment I got on stage until now, that's never changed. It still blows my mind every time.
Yeah, I can believe this. And have you had a situation, for example, when you look at someone who's crying, who's totally connected to you, that overwhelmed you, that maybe you had a break, for example, in a song, had to say, okay, this was too much to me, or something like this?
I've felt that way. I mean, I tried. I mean, yeah. I mean, every time I'm playing, I'm feeling the whole thing every time. It's a very emotional experience. Again, if you've seen us live, I think it's pretty obvious that's what's happening. But you know, I'm also a professional. God damn it, I'll keep on playing. But there's been a couple of times where I've had to sort of stop and so hold on, give me a moment where I can you know, and then keep going, because it's and after the show, it's often I'm you feel like a big bottle that's been with everything poured out of it, you know, inside, where you've just, you know, and so that's a tough experience, but a good one.
I think so, yes. And are you someone who goes out to the audience after the show, or do you need your time
Every
to
time.
calm down?
When we did our first tour, after every show, I would go to the merchandising stand and talk to anyone who was there and sign autographs or whatever. And I remember my first tour agent come out to me and saying, "Well, you do that now, but after you've been doing this for 6 months, you're just going to want to sit in the dressing room." Well, I hate to tell you, guy, I've been doing this for 40 years, and I still go to the merchandising stand after every show, and I talk to every single person who wants to talk to me, you know. And we don't do any of this bullshit, buy a VIP pass to get your photograph taken crap. You know, I'm not going to charge someone to say hello to me. You know, that's bullshit. If anyone who buys a ticket, they're a VIP. Everybody's a VIP at a Cassandra Complex show. So yeah, so at the next tour, I will be on the merchandising stand after every show, and I will talk to anybody who wants to come up and say hello, sign autographs, take pictures, whatever the hell they want, because those people allow me to do what I do. They enable me. Their money is what allows me to keep doing this, and I will never forget that. I'm so grateful to those people.
Good Einstellung. I just
Ja.
don't get the word now in English, but it's a great
Einstellung, ja, genau, so ist es.
Einstellung.
Ja, ich kann auch Deutsch sprechen.
Yeah, you lived in Hamburg, so a little bit
Ja, ich
Deutsch,
war
or
in Hamburg 12 Jahre lang, so.
ja gut, dann lernt man einiges. Ne? But we'll keep it in English
We'll
because
keep it in English, yes.
people, international people now would be like, what are they talking about?
Yeah,
Maybe we
genau.
could do our next interview in German, so we have
Oh
both.
God, I hope not. My German is so bad. I mean, I haven't been living in Germany for a few years, so people will just be going, "Oh my God, his grammar, sein Grammatik is so schlecht." Oh.
I think the grammar is not important to me.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
like my English. Sometimes my English is really good, and sometimes I have some wordings and some things where I think and
Yeah, I
don't
get
find
it.
the word, for example, and stuff. The main thing
I
is
very
that you
much
can
understand
communicate.
that. Yes.
Yeah, cool. But we'll come to an end now because you have to prepare for the tour. It kicks off tomorrow. Maybe one question to the tour and then one another question. The question to the tour. I've seen, for example, people commenting lots of why don't you come to our town, to our country? I think most musicians know this, but how do you feel when you read this, and what do you tell the people?
The answer is always the same. If someone will pay for us to go there, we will go there. It's as simple as that. Because we can't go for free because it costs us money, and I have to eat. So we need your money, please. I'm an old man. I need your cash. I don't have a pension. But no, we need that. That's the real reason. But what we're trying to do is on this tour, we're very much trying to play as many places as we can. So the tour that starts tomorrow, is just the first leg. So starting this week we do the UK, then next week we're in Belgium, Holland, Germany, and then we do Krefeld, Hanover, Hamburg, and Germany. Then we go to Denmark and play Copenhagen, and then we play in Berlin. And that's like for the next 2 weeks, I think we're doing all that. But then we're coming back again in May, and we've Gothic Treff, and we're doing South Germany, we're doing Munich, we're doing Czech Republic, Austria, Frankfurt. And then in August, we come back again, and we're playing Mira Luna, and we're playing W Fest in Belgium. And then in September, we're hopefully playing in the USA. We're still working out those concerts, but the USA. Then October, we're playing Latin America. So we're planning to do Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Costa Rica, I think. And then in November, we come back to Europe again, and we play some more shows in the UK, and we play some more shows in Germany, and I think we do Spain and France, Portugal. So by the end of the year, we'll have played pretty much everywhere. It's a lot of concerts this year, a lot of concerts.
I see. So, and I'm not sure if you find time for RPGs, for example, this year.
I don't think it's going to happen this year. Maybe a one shot or two, but I definitely won't be GMing. It's maybe I can sit in and play in somebody else's game, but there won't be no time to prepare a campaign. That's for sure.
And now for the last question, I have to ask it. We have now the Death and Sex and Death text thing.
Death and Sex.
But what is coming next? Something completely new, or do you do more re-recordings, or do you have plans?
Yes, and yes. We have a lot of plans, and I've got a lot of half-finished songs sitting in my hard drive right now. Yeah, we will do more re-recordings, that's for sure, because we have to we're re-recording the whole back catalog to play live. Everything we're playing live is completely newly recorded, the whole thing. So while we're rehearsing, we're recording all the time, and we're building new backing tracks. So if you come to see us live, you'll hear a completely different thing. You've never heard the songs that's this way before. And so since we've already arranged the songs new, and we're rehearsing the songs new, it's like, well, we should kind of just record them new too. It's not hard to do that. We're already done half that work. So we'll probably be releasing some more re-recordings. And then we've got a bunch of other stuff I can think of at least 3 or 4 songs that we have done that no one's heard yet that sound really good. But I don't know when those will be coming out. We'll have to see. I mean, we're going to be doing, when we're not actually on the road, we're going to be recording. So pretty much working full time all the time at the moment. I mean, and this week, I mean, the last week I flew here. I live in Los Angeles now, and I flew to England last week, where this is our studio in the north of England. And I think I slept 4 or 5 hours every night for the last week. And the rest of it's just been get up, have a shower, start working on the tour, start rehearsing, start programming stuff, editing videos for the backing tracks, and then, you know, go to bed 16 hours later.
Talk to people like me.
Yeah, or talk to people like you. Yeah, right. But you're important, so that's okay.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah. And so yeah, it's a tough schedule.
So maybe some last free words to the people outside you wanna leave?
Hopefully I won't look this bad when I get on stage, because I'll get some sleep. I look at myself in the camera, go, oh my God, I look so tired. But no, I mean, please come to the shows, buy the records, give me your money. I need it. No, but yeah, please come to the shows. We'd love to see you. And yeah, we are going to try and get to your town one way or the other. But try and see us. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be, I think, a really good experience. So.
Yes, and I probably will meet at Witten in about a week and a half.
Yeah, wow, a week and a half. Jesus Christ, I'm already nervous. You know, I'm like, no, I'm not prepared. I'm not ready for this. Yeah, but I'm really looking forward to doing Witten. In fact, Karsten, the promoter from Witten, he was one of the main reasons why we are actually back on the road, because Karsten called me up, like, I don't know, a year ago, or got in touch with me on Facebook and said, "Hey, I really want you to play our festival." And I was like, and he said, "Please play our festival. It's a really great festival. People really want you." And I was like, and he was like, he was so nice and really wanted it so bad that I was like, "Okay, we'll play your festival. That sounds really great. I really want to do it." And then I thought, well, hang on, I've got to fly all the way from Los Angeles for one festival. Fuck it, I might as well do a couple more concerts. So I contacted a new agent, and then the next thing we know, it was like an avalanche coming down the Alps. You know, it was like, it started with one small snowball, and now it's like this rushing tide of concerts. So yeah, kind of took us by surprise a little bit, but it's good.
Cool. And Carsten is guilty for this.
And it's all Carson's fault, yes.
Yeah.
So okay. I want to make sure that Carson and Dark Skies Festival get a really good show, because he really helped us a lot, and I really appreciate that.
About this, and you won't regret it, because it is a really beautiful festival.
Yeah, this is what everyone tells me. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay, then for tonight, I would say that's enough. We have lots of material. Thank you for everything.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
And
thank you everyone who's watching it at home, because that's thank you for watching all this. Thank you for watching me talk for 45 minutes about games and music.
It's great. And let's say bye. Bye, people. Cheers.
Bye.